China is experiencing unprecedented economic growth. Its expansion in almost all walks of life has now hit sailing. It's become the country's latest middle-class lifestyle choice. On this crest of a wave comes the 26th Rolex China Sea Race, Asia's premier blue water regatta. Hong Kong to the Philippines, offshore all the way.
Faster!
In the year of the dragon, who can ride their luck and rise to the challenge? "25 yachts have made the start line in Victoria Harbour for the Rolex China Sea Race. Now in its 50th year, the biannual race attracts many top crews eager to start their sailing season off in style.
One of the magical things about this yacht race is you leave Hong Kong, a big metropolis, fairly cool time of the year, and you arrive in a tropical paradise like the Philippines, and you have a lot of fun along the way. I think it's a very challenging yacht race. You have all sorts of conditions down the way. You have light winds, strong winds, you have a bit of everything. And I think reading the weather and dealing with that is the actual major challenge of the race.
The biggest challenge could lie with a 24-strong crew of genuine risk. At 90 feet long and with a canting keel, she dwarfs the fleet in size, sail and technology. The boat was only purchased late last year and preparations for the race have been brief.
We really didn't have all that much time to put the boat together. Nobody'd sailed on the boat before, and the boat hadn't been sailed since probably September the previous year. So all in all, it was quite an effort to get that boat back together. The other thing which really amazed me, and we only got to feel of it by sailing it, was how technically complex that boat is. It's got more systems and twists, turns and knobs than you can play with. And it's going to take ages to work out how to get that all together. And I think that's one of the challenges of it.
Few would bet against the Maxi from taking line honours, but can she also win on corrected time?
Best breeze we're going to see is right here at the start. So the first 200 miles we should have somewhere between 10 and 18 knots. And for us that's probably the most important part of the race. Depending on how far we can get down the track in the first 200 miles will depend what happens at the end, because after that it's going to be a very, very light race. All the breeze is going to be under 10 knots.
The 565 nautical mile race often proves a tactical challenge as crews try to pick the optimum route from Hong Kong across the China Sea to the finish in Subic Bay in the Philippines. The host of the race, the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club, provides the mark for one end of the start line. 15-knot favourable easterly winds push the fleet away, most decide to hug the Kowloon side of the harbour. Genuine Risk tries to play safe, but has to tack carefully through the fleet to make progress. Defending line and overall honours champion Hi-Fi, whose owner and skipper Neil Pride has competed in almost every China Sea Race, tries to keep on Genuine Risk's tail. It's proving to be a tough task. Despite the reputation of the race, nothing can halt the workings of Hong Kong's harbour as the fleet manoeuvre around the many varied vessels. While other ports around the world may be larger and more industrious, few are as iconic as Hong Kong's harbour. Some 220,000 ships still come in and out of its waters each year. It is steeped in history.
You can actually say that Hong Kong has happily witnessed every single moment of the development of naval architecture, east and west, since it was created as a port in 1814. If you wanted to take it back to 5000 BC, which is when the earliest relic has been found in Hong Kong in a little dig, then it's seen almost every development in naval architecture there's ever been.
The deep and sheltered nature of its harbour and strategic location in the China Sea were instrumental in its development as a crucial trading centre. But like many great ports, it's had to move with the times.
Throughout the extraordinary swings of fortune that Hong Kong faced over the last 170 years, sometimes China's open, sometimes it's closed, sometimes there's war, sometimes there's peace. Whenever something changes, Hong Kong's nimble population meant that the place could constantly adapt and remake itself as a port to suit changing circumstances. It's a different thing to everybody who uses it, I'm sure. From the yachty cursing the fact that the high rises around it have changed the wind and turned the world to porridge, to the ship driver trying to take a cruise liner out through a bunch of crazed yachties who refuse to give way to anything. Each person sees a different harbour, feels a different harbour. It hasn't got one feature because it's all things to everyone.
For the crews of the China Sea Race, the harbour means a chance to indulge in the country's latest passion. While much of the world continues to recover from the global financial crisis, China and its economy are booming. Sailing and cruising are the latest lifestyle choices to benefit from the country's increased disposable wealth. This love of sailing hasn't always been so prevalent. Despite some 14,500 kilometers of coastline, for centuries China has tended to be an inward-looking nation, not as adventurous in its pursuits as some, until now.
Every year we would like to go down to China Sea and say, "Hi, good morning, South China Sea." Of course, we as ocean lovers have to do it again, again, and again.
When I first went to Hong Kong and was competing in these races, sailing was very much an expatriate sport. But today, I mean, Hong Kong is China, and the scene is very Asian. We have a lot of Chinese people who joined the sport, which is just great to see Filipino people involved. So yachting has become Asian.
China did have a maritime history. It did have fleets of boats that went off under General Zhang to explore the world, and they explored the world and they went, we like China, so they went back into China. They decided that the rest of the world didn't have anything that they needed. But now, of course, that's changed. People never had time for recreation before. People worked all the time. And now there's enough economic wealth to allow them to relax and enjoy life. But sailing in Asia is building momentum. You've got the Volvo Ocean Race coming through to Sanya, and they went to Qingdao last time. You've got the Clipper race coming through Qingdao. You've got Extreme 40s as well. And of course you've got the America's Cup, a China team in the America's Cup World Tour, which is leading up to the America's Cup Challenge.
"5 hours in, and with the 12-year-old race record of just under 48 hours set by Carl Kwok's boat Jest within reach, Line Honour's leader Genuine Risk pushes hard.
We're about probably 75 miles into the race, so we've probably got just over 500 to go. We're steering exactly where we've got to go to, straight to Subic Bay. Got 13.5 knots of breeze and we're doing 14.5 knots of boat speed, so we're going quicker than the breeze, which is always a good thing. The breeze is forecast to die about 2.5 hours ago and stayed in, which is good for us. So I'd say if we're not on the record, we're just behind it. So this breeze stays in for a few more hours, we should get ahead of the record and see what happens after that.
Genuine risk, your position please.
Genuine risk position 2114 11442. Over.
Come nightfall, a change in breeze means a change in tactics.
Basically the breeze has gone round to 144, which is exactly where we're trying to go to Subic Bay. So we just tried to go to another head sail to sail a bit higher, sail close to course. But it's not as fast as this first sail we had on, so we've made the decision to sail a little bit lower, a little bit further away from where we want to go, but sail faster. So we hope that by lunchtime tomorrow, we've done the right thing.
Unfortunately, one of our sails is damaged, the mast top genoa. We just have to nurse that, and that's why we've gone to this sail. But the boat itself is going pretty well. Of course, we've now been sailing it competitively for the first time since last year. And so a number of the systems and issues, normal sort of things are coming through. But the boat's performing very well and we're learning a lot about it.
Faster!
Despite the owner's optimism, will Hill's new yacht prove a wise investment? Sailing is certainly not the only lifestyle choice benefiting from China's meteoric economic rise. According to statistics, China will hold a 20% share of the world's luxury brand market by 2015, and Hong Kong is its shop window, a major marketplace where Eastern demand meets Western supply. When China committed to its open-door policy in the late 1970s, it triggered foreign trade, investment and employment of a mass and willing workforce. China is set to overtake the US as the world's largest economy. With some 300 million middle-class citizens, there's no shortage of wealth.
So the reality is that they want to set themselves apart from who they were in the past. So maybe 10 years ago, they were still working in a factory or laboring in the fields or whatever else, and then they had an idea, and that then created some wealth for themselves. Now they have to position themselves as an individual of being that wealthy person, so they need to change. So the consumer wants to buy products which clearly identifies him or herself with having that money. So they're looking for luxury, they're looking for things which are not understated, but rather say, here I am, I've arrived. The desire to be seen to be successful overrides everything else. And the best way of doing that is by placing objects around me that say that. So maybe it's different to the Western culture where we tend to understate or where we don't want to outshine our business partners. In China, it's still very much an opportunity for people who can be seen to be successful to make more success by having that credence given to them by brands.
The Chinese are learning. From unmoderated consumption only a few years ago, buying trends are now much more considered. Taste is becoming a factor.
It is a learning curve, say from 5 years ago. If we take watches as an example, most of them won't be able to tell the difference between a mechanical watch to a quartz watch. And they focus on the appearance of the watch. Nowadays, they are looking into the heritage, the history, the brand ideology. They are learning more and catching up very, very quickly.
The Chinese see themselves coming up to the top of the global world, where they should be in their view. I think it's very much, this is our time.
The second morning, and while the fleet tried to stick close to the rum line, the leading yachts make crucial tactical decisions. They split, with the faster boats branching off to the south. The advancement of a lighter, southeasterly breeze means the race record is now out of reach for Genuine Risk. It's become a marathon, not a sprint. The light of day shows the full damage to the boat's torn sail. The cost to replace? Some $100,000.
Its day as a sailor is certainly over.
The global financial crisis has affected many markets, including the sales of 90 feet plus maxi yachts. Many owners are now downsizing to the 60 to 80 feet mini-maxi market, where crew and running costs are less.
Basically just put a nought on the end of everything. So you put a nought on the end of the crew numbers, a nought on the price. Every time I tend to do something, move it around, it costs $10,000 US. It's probably the easiest way to describe it.
But with Genuine Risk costing under $1 million, some $8 million less than the original purchase price, and with a handsome lead over the rest of the fleet, the investment looks to be slowly paying off. But can they win both line and handicap honours?
So if we can just get down the track a little bit more and have the right sail angle, keep the boat moving through this next 8 hours, get into this bit of pressure, we should have the R1 on, run lining straight at the finish. Big chance of winning the double. Big, big chance.
Subic Bay in the Philippines. For nearly 100 years, a major US naval base in the South China Sea. When the US Navy departed in 1992, it left an economic void that has taken a few years to recover from. While neighboring towns such as Longapo may not be quite as developed as the shopping malls of Hong Kong, they are just as vibrant. The third day of the race, and the battle for handicap honours intensifies. Singapore entry Zanzibar has made gains overnight, staying closest to the land. With a strengthening of the breeze, leader Genuine Risk accelerates to the finish. Giving away up to 30 minutes every hour on handicap to some of its smaller rivals, any slide in performance could ruin the chance at overall honours.
I think today's probably the best day we've had relative to the fleet, so we should have big gains today, and hopefully we can get in sort of a bit after midnight and be finished. And looking at the grid file, the breeze is going to die out tomorrow, which really will hurt the little boats. So providing we no mistakes, don't get stuck out here, we're a chance.
As we approach the coast, the wind is becoming a lot softer and more variable. The wind is potentially coming off the land as we approach here. At the same time, we have wind coming down the coast, so we expect a convergence zone where the wind is going to get softer and then come in on the nose. So we're trying to cover all possibilities by having sails ready to deploy according to the conditions.
It's always tricky coming in here, as you can tell, but we're doing okay, and I think we're going to pick up another line of breeze. You can see it up there, and hopefully that'll take us, we'll beat up in the harbour. But it's not unusual for the whole system to die down here. We're going to have breeze out here, but there won't be any breeze in the bay.
Once we get it up, we'll take it back on again.
Come on.
Such is the camaraderie on board that it's left to local Filipino sailor and youngest crew member, Ferdy, to drive the boat across the line.
The Philippines' first maxi sailor.
Yeah, he is.
Come on, Ferdy, take us home.
That's us, boys.
Hey! Yeah, thanks, matey.
Genuine Risk finish in a time of just over 62 hours. Outside the race record, but a great performance for a newly purchased yacht and new crew.
Last 24 hours was probably our best day. Probably did the most miles, probably sailed the best as well, so that's all you can do. Boss is happy, so we'll keep a job.
There's always work to do, but we're very happy with what we've seen, and we're confident that the boat can compete quite effectively. Wow, thank you very much. Yeah, fantastic. This boat's only been out in the water the first time in nearly 12 months. So we're very pleased with the way it went, and new crew, and that's all come together pretty well. So we've had a really good race.
Over the next 3 days, the remaining fleet arrive in Subic Bay. The now stronger breeze means the overall handicap honours is likely to go to a small boat. Defending line and overall champion Hi-Fi has to settle for second over the line. Jellic 5, despite breaking 2 spinnakers, makes the most of the local knowledge of its almost all Filipino crew to finish third. With all calculations finalized, it's Zanzibar taking advantage of sailing closer to the land than others, who is declared overall winner.
It was definitely unexpected. I mean, we were going well, certainly from the second day. We knew we were in the hunt, but it's a sort of race where anything can happen towards the end. So we were anticipating some horrible stuff hitting us towards the end, and it did, but not horrible enough. We went hard left on the morning of the second day, anticipating a big easterly coming in, and the east wind came in, hit us, and we were coming down on the second and third day with great breeze, whilst all the bigger boats who'd gone right were wallowing in no breeze, and that basically won it for us.
The next China Sea Race is in 2 years' time. The question is, how much bigger will the sport in the region be then? From a new frontier to one of the sport's strongholds. Next time on Spirit of Yachting, we're in Saint-Tropez for the Geralia Rolex Cup.